Welcome back, lottery fans. Today I'm going to show you a secret pick 4 lottery strategy I've been working with for the month of March 2019. And this has been working for several states and a couple of countries that I've been testing with. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you, and then you can go ahead and try it in your state or your country. And by all means, let me know if it's working for you as well. I'm going to run through 3 examples, a couple of different states and 1 different country, so you can see how this is working. And then by all means, as I said, try this in your state or your country and let me know. We're going to use the standard Pick 4 Rundown Tic-Tac-Toe worksheet for this. If you'd like a copy of this, there's a link below in the description, or you can just go to lotterypredictor.com and download it from the resources section. It's completely free. Let's go ahead and jump into this. I really don't have a good name for this. I'm calling it the 3 top corner, but that's really not... you'll see why, but that's it's the best name that I could think of it. If you can think of a better name for this, leave me a link below in the description. Maybe I'll start calling it that instead. So we're going to go ahead and start with Florida for our first state. So the Pick 4 Florida Evening Lottery particular. And for this one, in terms of finding the numbers, it's going to take a little bit of research. You're going to need to go ahead and find some past results. We've definitely got past results on lotterypredictor.com, or you can go to your state or country's website and find them there as well. And we're going to need 3 past drawings. And we're going to go ahead and start with our first drawing on the 9th of March. So that's the date we're going to use here for this example. And for Florida evening, the 9th of March in the evening draw was a 0282. So that's the first number. Now this is where the research comes in. What you've got to do is you've got to find, take this first number, and using the first number in that, which in this case is a 0, you need to find the last 2 drawings going back in the history that also start with a 0. So I went back and did this research for Florida, and so this was 39, and on 37 I found the next one, which was a 0606. So we've got a 0 in our first spot here and a 0 in our second spot here. That's what we're looking for. We're matching numbers in these first spots, and you'll see why that's important in a minute when I start to fill out the grids. And then I had to go back and track back a little bit further, and on the 25th of February I found the next one, which was a 0433. So once again, you see our matching 0 in this first spot. Now, these are finding that first number, and they don't have to be zeros. They have to be basically matching whatever was that first number that you drew on the 9th, or whatever date you're starting with. And you'll see in the subsequent examples how that there are different numbers that come out there. So the reason why this first number has to be the same for each of these 3 results is because of the way we're actually going to fill them in on our base grid here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with our first number on the 9th, and we're going to fill it in on the top line, much as we would do with most of our rundowns. So we're going to put a 0, 2, 8, 2 there. And then we're going to go ahead and take the next one, and we're going to fill it down horizontally in that first line. And that's why it's important that these first 2 numbers are the same, because they have to be able to match up when you're filling it in there. So I'm going to put 0606 on the down vertical here. 0606. And then we're going to take our last one, the third number that we found, and we're going to fill it in the diagonal down here. So as you see, that's why all 3 numbers have to match up, because we're putting all 3 numbers based on the top corner here, the 3 top corners. So 3 numbers in the top corner all match up the same. So I'm going to put a 0433 there. And then we're going to use our standard process for filling in the blank spots here, which is our anti-clockwise counting up. So we're going to start with 3 and do anti-clockwise round, counting up from 3 to fill in the blank spots. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then we're going to go ahead and now that we've got the base grid filled out with our 3 results and the rest of our blank spots filled in, we can move that over to the translated grid. And we're going to use flip numbers to that this time. So we're going to take each of our numbers on the grid, look up the corresponding flip number for it, and fill it in the corresponding spot on the translated grid. So we'll start with a 0. We look up a 0 in the flip number. It is a 3. So we'll put a 3 there. A 2 is a 5. So we'll put a 5 there. An 8 is a 1. So we'll put a 1 there. And a 2 is a 5. So we'll put a 5 there. Next line, same thing. 6 is a 9. We'll put a 9 there. 4 is a 7. So we'll put a 7 there. 6 is a 9. Put a 9 there. And 5 is an 8. So we'll put an 8 there. And then we're just going to keep going down, filling out those spots. I'm not going to look them up because I pretty much know them off by heart at this point. Hopefully I won't make any mistakes. So there we go. Now we have our base grid and our translated grid filled out there. Now we can go ahead and start applying our patterns to figure out what numbers we're going to use. And for this you can use whatever pattern you like. Certainly fill out some grids, backtrack a little bit, see if there's any pattern that's actually working in your state or your country. But for the sake of this example, I'm going to use the traditional ones that I like to use, which are top left to bottom right, top right to bottom left, and then the 2 vertical downs in the center there. So on our base grid, that gives us a 0, 4, 3, 3. And a 2, 6, 7, 6. And a 2, 4, 7, 8. And an 8, 6, 3, 9. And for those of you who notice, that means we are actually playing a repeat of our last number, but hopefully that repeat will actually come up because it's been should have been probably at least 2 or 3 weeks, depending on your lottery. I've actually had to go back almost 2 months sometimes to find that third number. So it's always a good one to have as your repeat being the last one there, which is why we put it in the diagonal rather than any of the other spots there. So that's the base grid. On the translated grid, same again, top left to bottom right, top right to bottom left, and then the 2 verticals down in the center here. That gives us a 3, 7, 6, 6, and a 5, 9, 0, 9, a 5, 7, 0, 1, and a 1, 9, 6, 2. There we go. So that's good for our Florida evening lottery. Let's go ahead and do that for another state. So you'll see an example of that. And for our next state, we're going to go ahead and use the Illinois evening lottery. So Illinois evening lottery. So same again, we're going to start with our result from the 9th there. And we're going to go ahead and pick our result from the 9th in the evening, which was a 2, 1, 5, 8. So we don't need this 4th one. Now we're going to do the same process. We're going to go ahead and look back in the history of the evening Illinois lottery and find 2 other results, the latest 2 other results that start with this 2 here. So we're specifically looking for results that have a 2 there. So that was our 3-9 that we found that March 9th. And going back on March 2nd, we found our next one, which is a 2, 3, 9, 4. So on March 2nd in the evening lottery, we saw a 2, 3, 9, 4. So we've got that 2 in that spot there. Then tracking back a little further, we actually had to go back almost an entire month back to February 10th. And that was when we found our 3rd one, which started with a 2 in the evening lottery, which was a 2, 6, 3, 9. So yeah, don't be surprised if you have to track back pretty far to find those numbers. As I said, I've almost had to go back 2 months to find that. Depending on how numbers are falling, you may even find that you have to go back even further than that. I'll be very interested to hear if anyone has to go back more than 2 months, though. Definitely leave me a comment below if you find that you're having to go back 2 months. That would be interesting to see. So now that we've got our numbers, we're going to go ahead and fill those in our base grid using that same pattern. So we're going to take our first number, which is our most recent, and we'll fill it in on the top line here. So it's a 2, 1, 5, 8. And we're going to take our second one that we found and fill that in the vertical down, starting with the same top left box here. So that's why it's important to have these As I said, these three numbers have to start all with the same number because that's the way we're filling them in, so they overlap in this top left box here. So 2394 filled in there. And then the last number we're going to fill in that diagonal there so that we get that repeat number happening when we pick out our suggested numbers. So 2639 will be here. Then going ahead and filling in the blank spots using our counting up anti-clockwise method. Starting in the bottom right with 9, we'll count up anti-clockwise to fill in these blank spots. So 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we've got our base grid filled out there. We'll go ahead and fill in the translated grid. Fill out the translated grid using the flip numbers here. So we're going to take each number, move them over, start with a 2. 2 is a 5 on our flip chart here, as you see. We'll put a 5 in that first spot. 1 is a 4. 5 is an 8. And 8 is a 1. I'm just going to go ahead and fill all of these out very quickly so you don't have to hear me rattling on as I fill these out. Hopefully I won't make a mistake as I'm talking and filling these out quickly. There we go. So now we have the translated grid and the base grid filled out. So we're going to go ahead and apply our traditional pattern to that. As I said, you can apply any pattern you want, but I always like to go with top left to bottom right, top right to bottom left, and 2 verticals down. So that's our base grid. That gives us a 2639, which is a repeat of our latest number, our last number I should say rather. So we're looking for the repeat of that. Gives us an 8234. So 1634 and a 5235. And then same again on the translated grid, filling out that pattern there. And going ahead and filling that in here, that gives us a 5962, 1567, a 4967, and an 8568. There we go. That's 4 numbers we can start playing in the Illinois Evening Pick 4 Lottery. Alright, one more example, and this time going out of the US. Actually going to pull in a different country here. As I said, a lot of these rundowns work in different countries as well, so if you have a Pick 3, Pick 4 lottery that you've seen a rundown for, definitely go ahead, try it in your country as well. More than likely will work as well. Leave me a comment because I'd love to see if it's working in different countries. And I had a request from someone from St. Lucia asking for the rundown in their country. St. Lucia, nice little island in the Caribbean. I would definitely like to go there sometime. Maybe I will get to. Maybe I'll play some lottery tickets when I'm actually out there. So we're going to do St. Lucia, and we're doing the evening lottery. And I believe St. Lucia has 3 Pick 4s every day. I think it's a morning, a midday, and an evening. But we're specifically going to be looking for the evening. You can definitely try this rundown with others as well. So if you have morning or night or midday, definitely try those as well. We're going to do for the March 9th as well for the start date, and in St. Lucia it was a 9122 on 39. So we're going to go ahead and find 2 more lottery results from the St. Lucia evening lottery that has a 9 as the first number. So I track back in the history, and on the 4th of March we had a 9653. So that's once again that matching 9 in the first number, as we know, is important because it goes into this first spot in the base grid. And then tracking back a little bit further, I believe it was February 21st I found was our third one with a 9661. So going to go ahead and take those numbers, fill them in on our base grid here. So the first one, the most recent, goes in the horizontal across the top, 9122. And then our second most recent goes in the vertical down, which is 9653. And then our furthest away result, our last result, 9661, goes down in our diagonal so that we can get that repeat happening for the least most recent number there. Using the pattern, the anti-clockwise counting up pattern, we'll fill in the empty spots here. So So we've got our grid filled out, and then we'll take our grid and we'll use our flip numbers down here to actually go ahead and fill in our translated grid. So 9 becomes a 2 on the grid here, 1 becomes a 4, a 2 is a 5, and 2 is a 5. And I'll go ahead and I'll fill all of these in again very quickly so you don't have to wait for the fun stuff, which is actually getting those numbers so we know what numbers we're going to play. There we go. And now we can go ahead and apply our patterns. So as I said, you can pick any patterns you like. I definitely recommend doing some backtracking in past results to see what patterns have been working for your country or your state, so you can play those patterns. But I always like to, whenever possible, stick to my traditional ones. I will mix it up for some specific rundowns because some specific rundowns do have specific patterns that work better. But for this one, you can use whatever you're actually more comfortable using. So that gives us a 9, 6, 6, 1, which is our repeat number here. It gives us a 2, 4, 5, 3, a 1, 6, 5, 6, and a 2, 4, 6, 7. And then same again on the translated grid. Very quickly here, the top left to bottom right, top right to bottom left, 2 verticals down in the center there. That gives us a 2, 9, 9, 4, and a 5, 7, 8, 6, a 4, 9, 8, 9, and a 5, 7, 9, 0. And there we go. Those are 8 numbers that we can now play in the St. Lucia Evening Pick 4 Lottery. So, if you enjoyed this rundown, definitely give me a thumbs up. If you want to see your state or your country done, please leave me a comment down below. If you'd like to see any reruns of any of the past rundowns, definitely leave me a comment below. Please subscribe to the channel. Good luck, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.